Of, and here they come. So I just want to let you know we'll get started as soon as we can.
I want to say good afternoon and welcome to your Danville City Commission meeting. Today is Monday, June the 10th, 2024. We normally start at 5:30. We're a few minutes late, but as you can see, we're without our county attorney, but more importantly than, the city attorney, but more importantly than the city attorney, we're without our city clerk. So we're doing some last minute changes of paperwork and stuff. So we're going to proceed. So welcome, and this is a chance for you to see how your city government operates. And so the first thing on our agenda today is that we're going to, normally we have a prayer, but we're going to do a moment of silence today. Your elected officials are all wearing orange this afternoon, and we're trying to send a message to you as a part of our community. June the 7th, 2024 was National Day of Gun Violence Awareness and Prevention. And you all by now know what happened in our community over the weekend. So if you would bow with us for a moment of silence in response to the gun violence that happened in our community over the past weekend. Thank you all. And next on our agenda, we will ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, which is going to be led by Boyd County student Max Gurman. And Max just got called out of the crowd a couple of minutes ago. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm going to a bunch of them. A minute on. Yeah, right. I hope I got enough. I thought about that. And Mike said, why'd you pick me out of the crowd? Well, he's going to get some special recognition here in a few minutes, and since he's been identified as a leader, we wanted to show his leadership skills. So good job, young man. Next on our agenda is the commission at this time will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda. But I want to ask for an approval of an amended agenda, and here are the amendments. I'd like to change item number 7 from an ordinance to a resolution, Resolution 2024-06-1008. You'll hear more about that later on, those in attendance. And then I want to add 3 resolutions that's being presented by our human resources person, Mr. Randy Boyd. And they will be 2024-06-10-09-10 and -11. So Chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, guys. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda's approved. Next on our agenda is we have our first Hear the Public opportunity, and folks in attendance at this time can come before the commission and can speak about items that are on the agenda. I'd ask you to raise your hand. I'll recognize you, come to the podium, tell us who you are, and say you live in the city of Danville or in Boyd County, and we'll let you speak to us, okay? So is there anyone in the public who would like to speak to his or her commission at this time about things on our agenda? There will be a second opportunity to speak to us later on about things that are not on the agenda. Anyone? All right, thank you all for your attendance. So we'll move right along then. Next item is the Boyd County High School track and field recognition. And that's why we have all these youthful people in our audience tonight. And they're being recognized for the following reasons. And if I leave something out, you all will just realize it's a mistake of the heart, mistake of the head, not of the heart. So we have the Boyd County High School boys and girls both won Class 2A Region 5 championships. The boys came in third overall in Class 2A state championship meet. And then at state, we had the 4x100 team that placed first. J.D. Cooley took second in the 400-meter dash. Andrew Lockhart came in third in the pole vault. The boys 4x400 team placed third. And Andrew, here we go. Nason came in fourth in the 110-meter hurdles. And then Max, who I just asked come up, was awarded the Kentucky High School Athletic Association Student Athlete of the Year for track and field. That's major. All of these awards are major, but that one is especially major. So you guys want to stand up and face the audience, and the commissioners will come down and get your mug shots, take a picture with you, and we have some little Danville, Kentucky lapel pins that we can share. If you all would come up and line up, face the audience that way so we can get a picture with you. And for those of you all who have not been in attendance at our meeting lately, we try to do this every meeting. That is to identify citizens, young and old, to recognize for outstanding contributions to our community. Are there any coaches present? Coaches? Yes. You want to say something?
No, sir.
25 words on this. Go ahead.
Oh, trust me, it will be less than 25 words. I am so proud of these kids. They are an inspiration to me as a coach and to their team. I know, obviously, this isn't the whole team. There's about, how many more of you guys? Like 30 more of you guys? Cannon, quit counting. You're throwing me off. It's about 30 more of them. But these are like the core group, and they mean so much to me as a coach and so much to our community. And they're great kids, so if you see them around town, give them a high five, and hopefully they'll stick around and be a part of our community for a long time. So proud of you guys.
Thank you, ma'am. And I know there's some first in attendance because of the first stand up. We give you all a round of applause if you take first to take the time. So long with you? You still take good. Until practice starts. Oh, wait. Hey, Coach. Yes. Why don't you get some of those pieces of brick? Okay. All right. If you don't have any you need, we got some more for each of you.
This is great.
All right?
Thank you so much.
Well,
They're like, we're gone.
we know the school is out and they're all busy, and so we didn't want to leave anybody out. So we asked you to take pins for the rest of our team members. Thank you, Miss Lewis. Always nice to have those young folks come in. Oftentimes we say, well, don't leave, stay for the rest of the meeting, but they got away on me that time, didn't they? Okay, let's go on then. Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes of the previous meetings. So, Commissioners, the chair would like to entertain a motion to approve our minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 5:24, 5:28, and 5:30:24 as presented.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions or comments? Any additions or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving our minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you all. Next on the agenda is a proclamation issued by the city in recognition of Juneteenth celebration. Commissioner Peak's going to read the proclamation to us.
Whereas Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, and Emancipation Day, is a holiday celebrating the emancipation of those who had been enslaved in the United States. And whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1963, declaring the slaves in Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And whereas 2 years later, on June 19, 1865, General Gordon Granger announced that slaves in Texas were free by order of the President of the United States. And whereas freedmen in Texas organized the first of what became the annual celebration of Jubilee Day on June 19th. And whereas June 19th has a special meaning to African Americans and is called Juneteenth in combining the words June and 19th, and has been celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor James J.H. Atkins and the Board of Commissioners of the City of Danville do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth in the City of Danville, and urge all citizens to observe Juneteenth as an opportunity to reflect, rejoice, and plan for a brighter future as we continue to address racial injustices in our society today.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion to approve this proclamation?
I'll move so.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay. Any questions or comments? 1863, 1865, okay? Juneteenth celebration. And for those of you all who are native Kentuckians, I always like to toss out at this time period that we celebrate the 8th of August Day as Independence Day for lots of former slaves in the western part of the state of Kentucky. It took 2 years or more for the word of Mr. Lincoln's proclamation to reach our state, or at least the western part of our state. So we have a proclamation, we've had a motion, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Proclamation is passed. So we will continue throughout the month of June with Juneteenth celebrations, and I know there's a big Juneteenth celebration in our neighboring city of Harrisburg this weekend. And then I guess I should announce that in the Michael Smith Park on Friday, June the 25th, Friday, June the 21st, from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m., there will be a Juneteenth celebration here in Danville, Kentucky. So I wanted to get those words out. So thank you all. Okay, next on our agenda is we're going to have a presentation made by Magistrate Tom Ellis about water issues in the city of Perryville. Magistrate Ellis, you will come forward. You're accompanied by the Mayor of Perryville.
Yes, Mayor, and thank you. My email included Mayor Rob Kernodle, so he has some brief opening comments, and then I'll pick up from there. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here to address you. Thank you for, I think, the relationship that we've had as communities. And I would start off by stating that part of my reason for being here tonight is to communicate. And I think communication is very important. Matter of fact, we had a failure of communication this past week in that we had a water line in Perryville that was shut off to replace a valve, and nobody in Perryville had been informed of that. It's pretty bad when the mayor's wife is calling him, asking him why her water is not usable. So again, I think it's important that we continue to communicate. And I'm here tonight because as citizens of Perryville, we're concerned. We're concerned about the price that we're paying for water. It's exorbitant. It's odd to me that we pay the equivalent of commodity pricing on a waste. We pay about 30 to 35% of our bill for water and sewage is on the water end. The other 65% or so is for sewage, for treatment of sewage. And so we're paying commodity pricing, in my opinion, on that. And again, we're just here to address the concern that we have and to ask for, we're not asking for free water. And I don't want to steal Mr. Ellis's thunder, but we're not asking for free water. We're just asking for a reduction of water that we were not able to use, but we're still charged for because we did have the 8 water line breaks. We did have to flush water 8 times. I'm going to guess anywhere from 20 to 30 gallons each time because it was dirty water. We couldn't, it's not like you can boil that and use it to wash clothes or make tea or anything like that. And so again, I'm here with that plea in mind. And again, I'm not here as the mayor, even though I am the mayor, I'm here as a citizen. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ellis?
Thank you again, Mayor. Yes, my name is Tom Ellis. I am First District Magistrate for Western Boyle County, which includes Parksville, Mitchellsburg, and of course, Perryville. When we first brought this issue up in late April, I believe it was, in a meeting in Perryville, after I believe the 6th of 7 breaks, actually there was another one subsequent to that that made 8. We were told that we could not do this because of statute. Apparently that did not come to fruition. We were then told that we could not request compensation for the lost water, the sewage water, because of the Public Service Commission. I made contact with the Public Service Commission, and that simply was not correct. I learned in the newspaper over the weekend that a 1977 ordinance came into play. It would have been nice to have known that back in April rather than the 2 things that didn't apparently pan out. The city shall afford no free water or sewer services to anyone, including the city. Code 1977, Theory 11, 21, 10, parens 5, close parens. That does not come into bearing here, as Mayor Kernodle said so eloquently just a moment ago. That water was not only unusable, it was a tremendous inconvenience to the people who were contacting me. You heard me say in your last meeting that a woman with twins called me both in terms of sterilization of her baby bottles and the fact that she uses traditional washable diapers and could not wash for several days until she cleaned out those lines. Another person contacted me, and actually several had mentioned it afterward because I made this known to several people, that every time this happened, she had to go into her refrigerator and throw away ice and find a way to clear those lines as well. So it's been a tremendous inconvenience on water that we're not asking to be free, because it was unusable water, averaging at least 30 gallons times 7 times 400 plus families that would like to have some compensation for that. In my corporate career in 2 different major corporations, these things were solved quite simply, and by the way, in a common sense matter rather than common law. It's just a matter of reasoning that this was not free water. This was water that was absolutely not usable under the code of the City of Danville Water Company, under the Health Department code, and under state codes as well. So all we are asking is that either the city, in the next billing cycle, take a percentage off of the bill of everyone in Perryville who suffered these consequences, or that the city subrogate with the subcontractors, a statutory concept that I'm very familiar from my years in the insurance business, subrogate back any cost so that it's not a cost to your city taxpayers. But one way or another, all these folks, 400 plus families, times 7 times 30 plus gallons at least to flush these lines, should be given some restitution, some reimbursement for the loss of their city water. And it's been brought up to me that they could file claims. Folks, I'm very familiar with filing claims, being with the largest insurance company in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And I used to have trouble filing claims with my own corporation. When you take 400 people who are not used to filing that type of thing, the easier route would be, A, for the city to give compensation on a $100 bill, charge $98. And I think your computers can just add that 2% or 3%, whatever it might be, that you would agree to, that might cover the cost of 7 times 30 gallons. And then I would, in my professional career, subrogate against the subcontractors who broke the line. That would be a decision beyond the one that we're asking for, that you give compensation to the families. I'd entertain any questions or comments that you might have.
Thank you, Magistrate Ellis. Anybody have any questions or comments for these two gentlemen?
I guess my only request last time was from staff, if we had a legal answer, and perhaps Magistrate Ellis already provided that. Would that be the 1977 ordinance?
That would be the correct ordinance.
Okay.
But again, that is not free water because it was unusable. And by Kentucky codes and by the health department and even by your own code of your water company, you'd have to recognize that that was a pass-through that had to be flushed. Again, quite inconvenient to happen. And by the way, this had a tremendous effect on the small restaurants that we have in town, because a couple of these breaks happened anywhere between 10 and noon, right when they were going into business. So they had business losses on this, and nobody's come to me asking for that, which would be much more significant. So we're appealing to your common sense reasoning here to come up with a formula that could provide some restitution to our members.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Ellis?
Everything I would want to ask would be through our council, so I'm not really sure what to ask. So I'm going to leave that to you, sir. And I would like to get to some sort of resolution, up, down, or
I can
sideways,
briefly,
but-
I'll briefly, very briefly address a couple of points with no
Mr.
intention
Ellis. Thank you, sir.
of getting into an interchange with Magistrate Ellis
Yeah, I won't do
or Mayor Paravel's mayor. The city of Danville, as a water distribution provider, you recognize that boil water advisories do come into effect. Line breaks are a part of operating that distribution center. The city has never paid any resident or non-resident or wholesale provider for any breakage that has occurred in a line and that has caused an inconvenience to a homeowner. So to the extent that the city even desired or was able to comply with the magistrate's request, it would put the city in a conundrum of owing every other resident who's ever been subject to a boil water advisory for payment or compensation, which is unfeasible and it in contravention to the city's ordinance. I would also say, as a matter of note, that the line breakages that have occurred have not been through the negligence of the subcontractor, but merely the age and frailty of the lines, which is why that project is even taking place in the beginning. The city is replacing an existing 8-inch line to Perryville with a 12-inch line, increasing capacity. The city has provided a water tower on that end of town to increase efficiency of the system in that part of the county to service those particular residents of Perryville. And in regards to the rate, the city is required to conduct a cost of service study. So the exact price and cost that is incurred is charged to the customers that are the users of that particular part of the system. It's documented through third-party independent consultation and filed of record on a regular basis. So with that being said, with sympathy to the residents and the inconveniences that were incurred, the city has taken steps to provide the best system possible, an improved system for the exact cost charged by or delineated through the cost of service study. So with that, we really aren't in a position to offer any more comment or any other resolution other than it's the city's desire to improve the system as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, with as much communication as possible.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments or questions from the commission?
Well, I'd say what's still on the table is fine with insurance. If we're running into roadblocks because of legalities, I think you still need to move that way. And I don't know if everybody knows who they're supposed to file with, but maybe that information can be given to you by either our city manager or the utilities director.
And at 210 gallons, how much would the loss be? Maybe a dollar or two? Maybe, I don't know. I've not calculated, but, okay. No comment?
I've not calculated what that impact is, no.
Okay.
I guess the other piece of information, and I don't think we want to share it during this meeting, but there are water line breaks throughout our city and other areas that we service that are not under a construction project as of now. And they've had, some areas have had 3 or 4, 5, 6, whatever number this January to May. So we don't want a water line to break, but we have more time. And it's best that we send staff in to clean up and to repair things as quickly as we possibly can. But I do want to, as I said to the Perryville Council and to the citizens of Perryville, the city of Danville apologizes. I, as the mayor, apologized, and none of this stuff has happened intentionally, but things do happen. I think anytime you try to improve something, there are going to be some setbacks. So I thank you guys again for your attendance and your concern, and I hope you will communicate to your community and to your leadership the things that you learned here tonight from the city. So with that said, I'm going to go to the next item on the agenda because we have folks who are waiting very patiently to be heard. And the next item on our agenda is the city manager's report. So Mr. Coffey, you have a report for us tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. Mine will be fairly short. Hopefully, a lot of important dates are out there. Of course, we had the reopening, the Bull County Fair, June 8th through the 15th, and Juneteenth, of course, is the 19th, and our next regular commission meeting is the 24th. Melanie was kind enough to provide for me some other interesting dates. You have the Heritage Hospice Blue Jean Ball is June 14th at the showroom. Pioneer Playhouse 75th Anniversary Gala is the 15th at 7 p.m. There's a welcome event for new businesses. On the 18th, there's the third Thursday in downtown Danville on the 20th. There's a runway 5K and 1 mile at the airport on the 22nd of June. The Bluegrass Community Action Father's Fest is June 22nd at the showroom beginning at 10 a.m. And then also moving into July, we have the 4th of July celebration we want to mention. You have the balloons over the Bluegrass Festival at the airport on August 2nd, and the Soul of 2nd Street Festival August 9th and 10th. And so we'll make these available like we would normally, but I did want to start to verbalize those. The would note vacations and things are a disruption to our normal service in the months of June and July. Of course, weddings are too, and so we congratulate our city clerk on that event in her life, and we appreciate her for what she normally does, and that is missed, and we want to acknowledge that. The auditors are continuing. Lee has on an agenda item, of course, that is down the list. And then we had a good, successful KLC Summer Summit last week. Felt like I walked away with some information I didn't have. And certainly Thursday was a good roundtable on economic development. I felt like that was a positive, the portion certainly that I participated in. And we will look towards the fall and think about ways we can incorporate some of those things here into an event of some type. And so we'll hopefully have information that maybe we are starting to steer towards. The SRO contract that was talked about a few months ago. We met with Chief Gray today and some other folks, and we were meeting with the Sheriff's Department on Thursday. So we anticipate bringing that conversation back to you this month. So anticipate that probably the second meeting of this month as we're doing a deeper dive into that subject. With that, do you all have any questions for me?
You have Kinder Morgan on there. Do I bring that up about the
You're
road?
welcome to do that. I did skip over that because I was focused on not missing these dates. I think the Attorney Dexter has some comments on that he'd like to add.
I'll give a brief update on the status of the access road from the bypass to Chick-fil-A and the city's water tower and the development there. As you remember and recall, there's been the controversy between the gas company, Kinder Morgan, and the developer, team leader, materialized in a lawsuit being filed to stop work on that roadway, an injunction, and that occurred sometime in March. We quickly got the parties together in an attempt to serve as a mediator and desire for it to be resolved promptly for various reasons. The first of which, and most important of which, was public safety. With the injunction being issued, the city wanted to know what dangers were present, how they were being resolved, when they were going to be resolved, and how it was going to be guaranteed to be safe moving forward for all parties involved. If you'll remember, we passed a resolution, we presented one to you for your passage that was in March of this year that required certain things to be done on certain timelines to which the parties were in agreement. And those were as follows. They were going to determine the acceptable depths of one that they considered too deep at first. They deemed that line to be safe and to not be of any matter going forward. There was another line that was a bit I guess, not covered enough, possibly, or too shallow. But they have created a plan to have that resolved and all parties to be fine with it. All lines have been marked and a plan was put into place. However, field meetings took place. Representatives came to this body to provide updates on a consistent basis. Due to some weather and concerns, they said instead of getting things done by the end of April, which we had hoped and asked for, they said, let's get it done by the end of May and then actually by the end of June. However, at the end of last week, there was an amended complaint filed in Boyle Circuit Court by Kinder Morgan against the developer due to the fact that the parties have not been able to come to terms on the particular language in the encroachment permit which would be required by them. To the extent that the city has exhausted its possibilities in mediating the situation, I communicated with both parties today to inform them that the city is disappointed in their lack of success in reaching an amicable resolution that benefits not only themselves but also the city and its citizenry at large, and that it would be the demand of the city at this time that the parties enter into mediation in the near future with the city as a non-party participant to ensure that things were done to the city's standards. The matter at hand is one of language and one that lawyers for both parties need to resolve. And as the matter of safety has been satisfied, the next step is for the language to document that. And we wait in earnest for that and have applied the pressure where we can apply it, and would only ask that the parties continue to come to this body providing consistent updates, but also to enter into mediation promptly to resolve it.
Thank you, sir. Any questions to the city attorney? Not good.
Thank you.
Yep, I have one for the city manager, though. Yeah, I know you don't have a date yet, but anything happening with the joint city-county on Parks and Rec meeting?
Ashley was coordinating that, and I would have to, I know the county had some issues getting scheduled also. So we will, I don't have anything on my paperwork tonight, but we hope that she can get that scheduled next week sometime.
And also cemetery meeting. With the committee. I think the cemetery committee wanted to meet with this commission,
Oh. You said cemetery.
not the cemetery
Oh,
committee.
okay.
And the tours, not to add on, but we enjoyed the tours that we took. The first round were really successful. I think the commission enjoyed seeing all that we saw and got to ask a lot of questions. And so hopefully we'll get to go to the water plant and sewer plant. And
Yeah, I know y'all only got to
Public
about
Works.
half done.
Yeah.
At most, and I think she was trying to pick some more dates, and that was gonna look like maybe the second week of July, from what I remember. Not the week of the
Yeah.
4th, but the following week, from what I recall,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Thank you, City Manager. Next item is the first reading of ordinance 2030. Mr. Randy Board, oh, you have quite a few of them, don't you? All right,
Just a couple tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
All
Yeah, so in front of you, you have staff's recommendation for the fiscal year 25 compensation and classification plan. This is reflective of the proposal that staff had presented in the discussions we had as recently as Friday, June the 7th, to the board of our recommendations. So this, in simple terms, this outlines the compensation changes that were discussed, as well as the increase in the compensation through the proposed COLA adjustment for fiscal year 25 for full-time staff. And all that has been incorporated into the budget draft as well. So staff's recommending approval of that as presented.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion on the comp and class plan for fiscal year 2025? Well, the chair would entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2030.
That's what I was looking for, the
Make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2030.
second.
Thank you all. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, the chair would call for the question. It's a roll call vote, so.
Commissioner Cottle,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Peak,
Yes.
Mayor Atkins,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Commissioner Sayers.
Yes.
Thank you.
See, when Ashley's gone, there's all kinds of things get discombobulated, don't they? Thank you all. Next item is first reading of 2031. Mr. Board, you have that for us as well.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Yes, so in front of you, same thing here. This is staff's recommendation for the authorized number of full-time positions for fiscal year 25. This reflects the changes that, again, have been discussed through the budget process with recommendations from the board. For this year, you'd have a total of 176 full-time authorized positions across all departments. And staff's recommending approval of the resolution as presented.
And that number is up from last year's number?
Yes, it's actually increased. Last year was 175 positions. This year is 176, which is inclusive of the safety personnel positions that were discussed, bringing those back for police and fire, as well as one additional firefighter and one additional 911 dispatcher.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Chair would entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2031.
I'm going to move to approve resolution 2024061008.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, ma'am. Number got changed, number didn't it?
I'll second.
All right.
Discussion.
Any discussion, questions or comments?
I know it said, I know we talked about this last Friday, but I just want to make sure the police officer numbers went down, right?
So
Like-
because you're, yes,
Oh,
you're,
there, right.
oh, yeah, sorry. So your head count, so last year you had 41 authorized positions in the police department. Mid-year, 2 of those positions were deferred, but we're bringing those back. So you'll have a total of 41 positions, but one of those patrol officers is being reclassified to the sergeant position. So you're bringing back those 2 positions, but one of those will be a sergeant. You're adding an additional sergeant to your head
I
count.
see that. So the numbers will stay the same then?
Yes, yeah. Your total department numbers will still be 41 as with the prior year. So,
Other comments or questions? I'm pushing you all. Trying to anyway, right? All those in favor of Resolution 2024-06-1008, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the resolution carries. Mr. Board, you have the, well, you have the next three. You folks are waiting, be patient, we're almost there. Just got 2 or 3 more little bitty ones before we get to you, so, Mr. Board, come on.
all right. So I'm not sure which order these resolutions are in, so I think we just recently added an amendment, so
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure, but I'll do, Steve, I don't know if we have more numbers on those.
You have the numbers? They're 9, 10, and 11, but you don't.
All right, thank you. All right, so the first way, we're presenting renewal of the KLC trust agreement for our insurance programs. We have 3 here. The first one is your general liability insurance, renewing for fiscal year '25. Total amount of insurance for liability for the city is $394,101.99. Staff is recommending approval of resolution to renew the general liability insurance with Kentucky League of Cities.
Thank you, sir. And that was 09, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2024-06-1009.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'm trying to, where do we have that?
Yeah, I can't find it.
Where do you have what? The resolution?
Resolution.
It goes from '06.
I don't know, they were copies. They were copies that were made. These were a late addition to the agenda.
So they're in here somewhere.
Unless the numbers are wrong, because they go from '01 to '06.
Do you want the number of the resolution, or do you want the amount of the insurance premium?
I can't find '06, '10, '09 at all, anywhere.
Okay, that was placed on the front cover of my folder, but I get a hard copy.
I do too, maybe.
And that was not completed until late today. There was a bit of confusion regarding this matter because KLC has instituted a new policy where they are e-signing these documents, so they're not sending a paper contract anymore. And so because of that, we didn't get the normal advance that we do with a paper document. Okay.
And these are really authorizing the mayor and someone else to sign.
All right, so there's 3 resolutions, and we've done these every year for
Yeah.
a number of years. One is for property insurance, one is for workers' compensation insurance, and one is for general liability insurance.
And their trust agreements with KLC.
It's the normal trust agreements, trust participation agreements
Right.
with Kentucky League of Cities Insurance Trust.
And we have to have them approved by the commission in order for the mayor to sign them legally.
Correct, and to authorize the expenditure, yes.
So what's the resolution number, Mr. Dexter?
The resolution, the 09, Randy, and is that the commercial general liability?
It is, yes, Steve. It's the
Okay,
general
so-
liability.
General liability is 09, 10 is workers' compensation, and 11 is property insurance. Correct, Randy?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Mr. City Attorney, these need to be done individually?
We do like them to be done individually.
All right, so we're on 09, and we do have a motion and a second to pay our insurance obligations. I'm trying to give him some time.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. No questions, comments? The chair would call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, we have a
Yeah,
motion.
You
we
do
have
have a
a motion,
motion second.
Okay.
So I'll try again.
All right, do it
The chair
again.
would,
One more time.
chair would call for the
He's
question.
bringing copies right now.
What's that?
I guess he's bringing copies.
Oh, he's waiting. Oh,
Take a
I
look
was gonna
at
say, I was a no. Because I hadn't seen anything. I was like, oh.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
it. All right.
And again, this is merely the renewal of the city's existing policies that cover these three areas: general liability, workers' compensation, and property insurance.
So I'll read the first, let me take the first one. Now therefore be it resolved, the commissioners authorize that the trust participation agreement for the Kentucky League of Cities Insurance Services, General Insurance Trust, which provides general liability and property coverage for the city, is approved and accepted in the amount of $394,101.99. That's the first resolution,
yes.
2024-06-1009.
We had a motion and a second. We already had a motion and a second.
Are you, well, and let me clear up something too. These came to me in an email last Friday. And as I was going through my emails, I read them and said, oh, wait a minute, I'm not signing this stuff, put myself obligated. So I sent them on to staff and to the attorney and said, take a look at this. And then they said, wow, these need to be on the agenda for today. So that's why this
So they,
short turnaround.
to clarify further, they switched to everything e-signature, which he's been the signature.
Gotcha.
And so it went to his email, which is why no one else got it until he was able to get to his email today. And certainly, I'm not a great, there's a reason why I'm not a good city clerk.
Well, there's a reason why I'm not signing it.
Ashley, if you're watching, number one, you're crazy, and number two, we need you back.
So let's go on. 2024-06-1009. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you, that one carries. The next one is 06-10-10, the trust participation agreement.
So there's three agreements. The first one was general liability. This one is your property coverage, your insurance on your property. It authorizes a signature on that document. The cost of that is $244,032.42.
That's your workers' comp.
The first one is 2606.
Earl, that actually, there's a typo on the amount there. It should be 224,000. It says on the resolution it's 244, but your premium's actually 224.
Yeah, those two numbers were switched. So this resolution should have turned $24,930 and 18 cents. We're gonna blame that on somebody else.
Well, I want the audience to understand why I did not sign them, that's all.
Yeah. It just,
And so 10 is for the property, right?
10 is for the property, and the value is $224,930.18.
All right.
And the city really can't operate without these. No. Be very risky, but I still was not going to sign them. So, okay, let's do the second one then. 24-06-10-09, right?
This one is
10.
10.
Okay. 10-10, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-06-1010.
Second?
Thank you all. Any other questions or comments? For workers' compensation? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. And the next one is 06-10-11.
Which is your workers' comp portion, which is a value of $244,032.42.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
I move for approval of 2024-06-10-11.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second with the corrected amount.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all for your patience on that.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you all. Mr. Boyd, thank you. That was, whew.
all right, thank you.
So now we come to the time in our agenda where we hear from the public for a second time. And then at this stage of our agenda, you can talk to us about things that are not on our agenda. And we ask you to raise your hand, be recognized, and we give you 3 minutes, and the commission is obligated to listen to you, and we will eventually take your concern, refer your concern to staff. So I know there's one group, Mr. McGuire, okay? You want to come up?
Hello, my name is Lonnie McGuire. I'm a resident of 183 West Jefferson Avenue here in Danville, Kentucky. I'm here as one resident of that whole area, trying to represent the area where we live in, about 3 properties that's on or adjoined to our streets. One would be the one that is is hosting sex offenders on 220 West Jefferson Avenue, which is on the street that I'm on. And then there's another property. Okay, there's another property on Lisa Avenue that's addiction for males, and then there's one on Bonnie Court, addiction, sober living places for women. Baughman Avenue too. Okay, there's one on Baughman Avenue also. So my thing, there has been an incident happened at the one on West Jefferson Avenue where a young child was sexually abused and by a sex offender that lived in that house. I am actually a Board of Adjustment member, and I've seen people come through here to try to get permission to be able to live in those places, and neither one of these facilities that we're talking about is supposed to be able to be in our community. It's one family residence where we live at, and none of those places came before the board to be in there. So our concern is the safety of our kids. I mean, we have elderly people in our neighborhood that walk. I've been there, living where I'm living at now for over 20 years, and we've never had any problems whatsoever. And now that these facilities are there, there's concerns from myself and the other residents that live there. And we just want to know how this got under the radar and be able to produce this in our area.
Thank you, sir. Brother Jenkins?
Also, these facilities that are in our Clearview neighborhood, they are there illegally according to the ordinances of the state of Kentucky. The ordinance that is shared within your letter is a sex offender living availability not within 1,000 feet of certain facilities. And also the sober living houses that are in the area violate ordinances also because it's not an R1 or an R2, and the definition of a dwelling, multifamily dwelling, means a person living alone or any following groups living together, the single, nonprofit, housekeeping unit, sharing common living, sleeping, cooking, and eating facilities, which the definition of a family. We are very concerned about our neighborhood. We asked the question, why and how and what can we do? And what will the city do?
Okay. Well, remember I said listening session? So my answer to you all tonight is that, first of all, thanks for your presence here and for sharing this information with us, and thanks for having the handout, because that means your thoughts won't get lost. But we always listen, and then we refer this to staff, and a couple of you all have already had a conversation with the mayor, and you also had a conversation with the chief of police, and I think you've had a conversation with maybe the city manager. But these are things that are still under advisement, and we're working through, some legal issues in trying to get this resolved. There are some time limits about when things have to be resolved. So,
I visit the code enforcement. We visit the sheriff's department. We visited the prosecuting attorney's office. We've talked to the chief of police. We were told that the violation, the city ordinance gave them 30 days to be moved out of the facility. The 30 days has come and gone. We asked the question, how much longer? That's the question that we're asking today. And we want to know, how do you safeguard this kind of situation in our community? Or if it happened to us, it's in your community, your community, your community. We are compassionate to those who have had problems, but we also know we follow rules and they need to follow them also. That is our concern. Why are they allowed to break the rules and we're not?
That's a great question, Rev. I don't have an answer to you
Yeah,
on that.
so the one facility, I know that it's under the advisement of the chief of police, and so we're going to follow what path he set on that based on their interaction with some other law enforcement agencies. And certainly we can, and I believe I'm of the understanding he's communicated that with you a little bit. That was the one address. There were some other addresses you pointed out that I had not been made aware of that were in question. If you'll give us a couple of days this week to meet with the planning and zoning director as well as our code enforcement officer, I'd like to do a deeper dive into what is allowed in our codes and whatnot. I know Mr. McGuire mentioned the Board of Adjustments. Let me investigate that a little bit and to see what we can't identify. I'm not sure what the restrictions would be or would not be for some of those specific uses. I appreciate this. This will be a working document that I'll use to try to do a little research from, and then we'll try to follow up with you towards the end of the week, probably Friday at some point. If you'll give me till Friday, we will try to either myself or the chief will follow up with you. But let me meet with the planning and zoning director and go through the process with the code enforcement officer and find out what limitations there are on certain properties in question.
I have that already.
Well, and the other thing I want to say to all of you all is that, I said thanks for your presence, but the other thing is that things happen under the radar because people will go ahead and do things when they sometimes know it's a violation of the law. The city doesn't always find out about those things until good concerned citizens like you all bring it to our attention. So this has been going on for a while. Mr. McGuire brought it to my attention. I took it forward. Reverend Jenkins has talked to me about it. So we have been talking and been trying to do some things about it, but they probably moved in overnight, for an example, but for us it might take 30, 60, 90 days before we can get it resolved. That's not a good time frame, but again, you want us to stay legal so when it is resolved, that there won't be any kickback against you all, won't be any kickback against the city as well, though. So please give us some time to work through those issues. Our chief is well aware of it, and I know you've been to codes, you've been to Board of Adjustments, you've been to planning and zoning, and until we get all these issues resolved, because they were placed there by people who are not employees of the city. I'm trying to say that in a nice way. Okay, so that's what takes some time with it. Yes, ma'am, you want to add something?
Yes, sir. My name is Suzette Watts, and I live at 184 West Jefferson, across from the McGuires.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have one of these children
Yes, ma'am.
that, in question, we can't even let our children outside to play without some of us sitting out there, because they're parading up and down the street, letting us know that they know we know. They're cutting up through our yards and across the back to Bonnie Court. And the police has been most helpful. They have provided extra patrol, but what's it gonna take? Want them to do something to one of our children before something's done?
I pray that doesn't happen, ma'am, but yeah, you're right. Yeah,
They're
that's right.
they're using city transportation, which is free because my husband's a bus driver. They are They don't take care of the lawn. The grass is usually more than knee-high there. Somebody did finally come mow it the other day, but, you know, I fear for the safety of my child.
And you're right, ma'am. I sympathize, I empathize with you, and I've taken care of somebody's children all my life, but you're right. We have to address these things, and
Right.
we will address it, and we are addressing it, but you want us to do it the right way. Now, I do want to say, if you think the police presence is not enough as it should be, you know, there's a number to call to speak to the
No,
chief
they
or city
are.
manager, okay?
They are
And
making
when-
themselves known, but still, you
Yeah.
know, my husband and I watched one of them go through one neighbor's yard and cut up through the other yard late at night, about 10 o'clock at night, and they need to stay away from our houses.
Sure.
They need to stay on their end of the street.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, well, that's what I
right,
mean.
Yeah.
Until that they can be put out, they need to stay on their end of the street.
Well, and you're asking us to go through a legal process for removal. And I would say to you, that's the process we're dealing with. And it involves some other governmental agencies. And I'm trying to say some things because people know you're here. They're going to be at this meeting. They're watching us, but that's okay. I want to say the right things to you all and encourage you all. But don't be patient. Be concerned enough to keep your eyes and ears open. And you all, you know, we have what we call legal neighborhood walks. We also have watches, but we also have what we call just neighborhood watches. And you all know what I mean when I say that. So you got to stick together.
Everyone to stand that's in the neighborhood.
Yes, please do. Yes.
That we are concerned
Yes.
about
Yes.
what's going on.
Yes.
Deeply concerned.
Yes. Well, we understand. Yes.
My little girl's 10 years old. She shouldn't be afraid to go outside of the house
No, ma'am.
by
No.
herself without
No.
somebody.
No,
I mean-
that's right. It's Danville, Kentucky. You brought the house because of the safety of the neighborhood, and we want to try to help you all maintain that. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. I guess whatever, I called you Mr. Agnew.
That's all right.
I guess most of our concerns is, well, mine is,
Yes.
and I don't like to blame on anybody, but whose fault was this to happen? I mean, I'm on the board, they said they don't know, went to the Board of Adjustment, they don't know, went to the other place, and they say they don't know how it got there. So how can we prevent this from happening again?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think as everyday citizens or as government officials, we can prevent it. Once we find out about it, though, we can do something about it. See, if somebody rents their house and don't ask the right kinds of questions, they could be renting to anybody.
Well, I do have a suggestion
Yes,
on
ma'am.
that part, but
All right.
I
Ms.
won't take
Vicky,
much
you
of
wanna
your
come on up, Ms.
time.
Vicky?
I do not live in the neighborhood. However, my mother and my stepfather do. And my daughter was a direct victim of one of the men that live there. And in fact, you know my daughter because she's been to your church before. I actually, when I found out what it was, I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was a sober living facility. I started doing my research. I found out it was a transitional home. I got the facts. I went to the planning and zoning. There was an internal investigation. It was determined that they have violated a zone code. It is a residential home. It's not for organizational, transitional, making money off people, having 9 people in there, charging them $150 rent a month. It's not a single dwelling. My issue is, why isn't there better screening during an application process? When somebody comes in to fill out an application to rent their home out, why would there not have been more screeners? Why wouldn't there have been more questions? What is the reason for this rent? How many people are going to be living in this home? What is your intention in renting this out? Because from what I'm understanding, the owner of the home and the owner of the business are 2 different entities. They're not the same. So my question there is, how did this happen? How did the city overlook it? And what are you guys going to do in the future to prevent, are you going to screen these applications better?
So, ma'am, the court system in the state makes certain decisions and makes certain administrative decisions. And as I understand the matter, they can make administrative judgments, which when we were exposed to the address, we felt like that was a mistake. And so as we have staff, we check it against local knowledge, and they agreed with us, which is why they're vacating the property.
Okay.
There's a fixed time to do that. I'm not going to try to repeat that. I know they have, the law permits or gives them certain leeways in which to operate. So that, ultimately, that's a agency higher than the city. But they did respect the fact that we did correct that administratively for them once we knew about it.
I just
Their
don't want
process,
anything else
they
happen to
don't,
any more children.
I understand that. We're on the same page. I think everybody in the room would agree with you. All I'm saying is that when another agency or business, people don't always run everything by the city that they do.
Right.
And we can't always require that. So when a state agency tied to the Department of Parole, that when they go through their administrative process and they make a decision, they don't necessarily ask the city, right?
Right.
They are respectful and they do communicate with us, but I do think it was a little bit of a administrative error. I think that was fixed. I think that what's more concerning is to make sure that our zoning ordinance and our zoning interpretations are consistent with what our community expectations are. That would speak to whether or not the language in our ordinance and allowable uses and things like that is correct. I think we will meet with the planning and zoning director to look at that, and I think that's a reasonable thing to do in reaction. At minimum, we can do that. But two, we aren't necessarily permitted once a residence or location is designated as a rental unit, we're not entitled every time they turn over renters. We're not entitled to that information necessarily. And so they do have a right to turn those renters over without running that up to the flagpole to see if the city has a comment on it. And so I would just temper the expectation a little bit with that part of it. But more importantly, if a renter is going from a residential use to a commercial use, yeah, that's not compliant, not consistent with what our zoning ordinance allows, which is why we want to do a good job with our zoning ordinance. And so you're right, your perspective is right. There's a little bit of confusion there with who the parent agency is that has some authority. The court system has the authority over how the house got picked. We responded to that and questioned it, and they agreed with our interpretation. And so they're reacting correctly like we would hope with that, without conflict with us. They do have some statutory timeframes that they're adhering to. Like I said to Mr. McGuire, the other properties are things we want to make sure that our ordinance is doing what the expectation is.
Okay.
Okay? And so I will commit to looking at that this week and commit to at least getting back with Mr. Jenkins or you, whichever one's fine with me, and if that's acceptable. And then they're here speaking on everyone's behalf. I'm going to communicate with you all. If anybody else wants any information, you're welcome to contact me separately. Otherwise, I would ask that maybe by the weekend or something, if you want clarification on what we find, you're welcome to reach out with those two, if that's okay, as being in the neighborhood.
Are you talking about all of this?
On the issue, otherwise, we maybe can give the commission an update at the next meeting on those other properties and what we found with planning and zoning.
Sister Troxler's waiting there to say something to us.
My name is Victoria Troxler. I live at 208 West Jefferson. And at the residence where the sex offenders stay, it was 9. Put 9 of them in there at one time. And in front of the house, it says children at play. At the end of the street, it says children at play.
Wow.
Those men walk at night. And yeah, they cut up through your yard and everything else. And it's just, I talked to Derek Morton. He says he's gonna buy it. He's buying the property. And his ex-wife, which had a business called Heaven on Earth. So she decided that was gonna be those men's heaven on earth, I guess. But I'm just concerned with the neighborhood. I've lived there for over 30 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And like you said, the grass is knee-high. And I don't know if anybody's in there now, and I passed by the other day, they had all the windows up. I guess no air conditioning, I don't know. but the windows are down now. I don't know. And then, they say, well, give us 30 days. It's been 60 days. It's been since April. And these men are still walking
Yeah.
the street and then messing with this woman's child and then another child. I mean, they say they're registered. If they're registered, they can live 3 in a home.
You said
I just don't believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, sex offenders in our neighborhood. It's not right.
No, ma'am. Well,
I mean, can't they fix a facility where they don't have to come in people's neighborhoods?
They need to be out in the country.
Yeah, because
Because you put that many sex offenders together, then that's just asking for trouble.
It's
because
asking.
There's 2 or 3 of them already been arrested since they've been there.
since they've been there, yeah. and
Or
it's-
at least in a monitored commercial like
Well, they're not,
like when they're in town.
yeah, they're not even monitored at all
Yeah.
because, like I said, they ramble all night long.
Mr. Dexter, I want to listen to everything they want to say, but they're getting some real things that are legal things, and I don't want to try to respond to them because I'm not a lawyer. Some people think I am on different issues, but I'm not. But I just want to say, you all, we are definitely concerned about what's been said, and you all, my home number has always been published, so you all can always call me, and I get calls at all kinds of different times of night. I'm not always able to come and drive through, but I'm willing to do some of that. You said the presence of our police force has increased there. We will continue to try to do that. And then please understand that we are trying to work through some of the legalities of all this stuff. And that's why I say, keep on talking to us, keep on sharing incidents with us, let us do what we can to help. Mr. Hawkins?
Nobody said anything, but it's a daycare's on West Avenue.
Yeah, I got it in one of my notes. Somebody
They
shared it with me.
violated
Yeah.
on both ends,
Yeah.
on the end of Lisa and,
Yeah.
but
Yes, ma'am. You want to come up to the microphone, though? Oh, yeah, but I want to get you recorded, though, see, because you might have a different perspective than what I have, so we need to. And guys, it's just important for us to record you because there are a lot of Danvillians who watch these videos every time we have a meeting, so it's not just those in attendance that get the information.
I live
It's
on
not that-
Lisa Avenue.
Yes, ma'am.
And they also roam over on our street.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's also a registered sex offender on our street at 217 Lisa,
Wow.
as well as the other residents. He's on the registry too. 217. And they walk up and down our street all the time. They cut through our yard to go to Danville Manor. That's it.
Mayor, esteemed council members, other protocol, we appreciate your time and God bless you.
Well, you all did the right thing by coming. You waited a while and you've come in a very professional manner. We are going to listen to you. Now, you've already caused me to violate my protocol because I wasn't supposed to answer anybody, but I knew this was too sensitive of a matter to not try to have a dialogue with you all. Mr. Hinkle? If you come up to the microphone after Mr. Hudson. Oh, wait a minute. Now, hold it. On the basketball court, you were.
Hey, I'm not a big talker or anything, but what I hear here and what I see here is y'all will address the situation, right?
Yes, sir.
30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Okay, whatever it's going to take, we need to get this bunch out of our residents, right?
Yes.
That's what we need to do. And, you know,
Yes.
y'all,
Yes.
as Christian men and women, we don't want sex offenders running up around our house like many people do. Just like my wife said, they're running around everywhere. I know Tony, the chief of police, and his police has been maybe addressing this situation, but hopefully this situation will be resolved in the next 30, 60 days, as quick as we can get on this. You know, it's not good if these sex offenders be running around, and hopefully we can resolve the situation. But we put it in y'all's hands. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is James Hunt, and I'm coming for a different situation.
Yes, sir, Mr. Hunt.
Some times ago, 2 ladies that lives on Butler Avenue talk about the way the people park. Now, most of the, a lot of them are parking off the street, but on the south end of Butler Drive and on Stevenson Avenue, the Spectrum trucks, they park on the street. and you can't see.
Come back here. Oh.
You can't, if that truck's sitting on the street and you going, I guess, north, you can't see around that truck on either way. So, you know, they need to be not parking on the street side because that street where they park, you can't see around there. And somebody's gonna get hit and it's gonna be bad.
Wow.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. See, he's been around enough. He knows our procedure. Yes, sir. Mr. Chandler?
Mayor Atkins, Commissioners, I just need to mention to you guys, I'm not here in an official capacity for their homeowners association on Kendall Drive, but we have, I've lived there now for 15 months or so, 14, 15 months. And when we drive down Citation, when we enter the neighborhood on Citation, the apartment buildings, they leave their trash cans out constantly. I've counted 50 and 60 trash cans out for a week at a time.
Yeah.
And we've filed petitions. It's Citation and Seabiscuit, both. And they're still out. As I understand, the ordinance is $100 fine a month or a week or an occurrence, whatever it is. I think we're past the warning letter part. I think it's time to collect some money on that. And the other thing is on Citation Drive, going through the apartment section on the way to Kendall, parking is allowed on one side, but we're getting large trucks parked there, and it's inhibiting any safety vehicles that might need to get through there. We are a senior citizens street, and we need, yeah, don't look at me like that.
Don't touch that.
But we do need the access.
Yes.
There, and I think there should be no parking on Citation on either side of the street. All those apartments have large parking lots in their rear. These issues seem so minor after what we've just heard, but thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you for bringing that issue back to us, our attention. Yes. Well, and that issue that we just listened to, that's a tough issue. We're fortunate in our community. We don't deal with those kind of issues every day, but they're important enough for citizens to bring them to us and for us to attempt to address them. And we will do that. We have to do that, okay? Anyone else desiring to hear the public? I mean, desiring to speak to us, part of the public? Come on. Just don't call. I better not say that.
My name is Margaret Calhoun, and I've been observing the water splash certain times of the day
Out at Lexington Avenue Park?
at Michael M. Memorial Park.
Oh.
And few problems with the teenagers. We really need the more lighting and need security lights. That's what we need, and cameras. A few teenagers was trying to rough the swings, which is for the younger kids, and they was using like monkey bars. They was getting in under the infants, like a car seat. They was getting in them, only 2 of them. And the little benches that they put down there, they was rocking them, trying to break them. And so when I called the police station, the dispatcher said the police couldn't come down there unless it was a criminal act. Now, come on. You paid all that money, that new stuff, and letting the teenagers tear it up. You know they put branches on the slide, and they was getting ready to burn it up. It wasn't for the tenants across the street at J.E. Woods. Then Saturday night, it was these two ladies, and after the splash cut off at 8, it's not 9, and they stayed a while. We stayed a while, see if people still was playing down there. Then I told them it's closing. It closed at 9. She said, I know the splash didn't close. She said, but I'm not leaving. I said, oh, yes, you are. I said, I'll call the police. The police came down there, but they left before they came. They live over at Toombs. I know where they live. And I didn't see them yesterday at all. And when I told the teenagers, you talked to 2 of them Saturday. They was one of the 2.
I talked to them about doing something inappropriate?
I don't know what you talked to them about.
I talked to a lot of teenagers, Saturday, okay.
Yeah, they were seen talking to you. You might know them. I don't know. But they told me they was from out of state. They telling me anything. But they knew you, so I know they was lying. And the overset one, I started to get her. She seen me. She got up. She weighed about 200-something pounds, trying to get in the swing. And she was leaving diapers on the ground. But it was a nice gentleman picked them up for me. Before I got down there, he was telling me it's nice. He picked them up. And it was nice.
I think
it's
3 minutes have expired.
Enjoying it, and I'm telling everybody, anybody can come.
Ms. Calhoun?
I
your
know
three
my
minutes have
3
expired.
minutes are up. And I think that's it. We
Thank you,
need a
ma'am.
security as soon as possible. Yes.
And the cameras are down there. They've seen you do certain things already, so you need to be careful.
They ain't down there. That's what I told the teenagers.
You haven't seen the cameras?
They ain't down there.
Okay, remember it.
They think they are.
In a public meeting, I have tried to state that all of our parks are for our entire community. And we do want our citizens to be respectful of the community. But I don't have any individual citizens who have enforceable powers in the parks. That's for the staff and for the law enforcement officials. You said you called the police and they told you they were not coming, but that's okay. Sometimes they'll say that, but they still might. They still might. I'm trying to respond to you illegally. I'm concerned about the safety of people trying to enforce proper use of the park. Leave that to the city employees. That's for everybody out there who's watching this and hearing this. That's why we have hired staff. When the parks close, if the sun is still shining and they're using the things appropriately, I think, in my opinion, that's fine. They can't cut the water on. The water cuts off at a certain time, and that causes a lot of folks to want to go home. But please be careful about approaching people who you individually think might be doing something inappropriate in the park. Now, I've said that individually, one-on-one to some people, and then I'm saying it in a public meeting so everybody will understand that we're concerned about that. That park is going to be used and used and used, and we're excited. I had 2 families that were out at the park on Lexington Avenue and found out about the new one being open, so they did both of them on last Saturday, so that's pretty neat. So let's encourage folks to use it and use it appropriately. But let's go on, though. We have lots of things still left on our agenda. No, ma'am. Get your 3 minutes. Who told you that? To you. Well, I've talked to you individually about what you should and should not do at the park. And that's not one of the things that I've said you had the right to do.
Right.
So let's go on, please. Commissioner comments?
I would just like to thank the Public Works staff that is picking up the storm damage. People have appreciated that this week. And the parks, well, that's a big topic, but Saturday was great. But don't forget, we've also got the Cowan Street Park. That's pretty nice. I went and looked at it. And I think the other one's at Jackson, the new playground there.
Yes.
So those are all nice additions to our parks.
Yeah. Any other commissioner comments?
I don't mind jumping in. You know, one of the reasons for the commissioner comments is that we shouldn't respond during Hear the Public. That we probably can make comments now. So certainly we got a lot of good things going on in our community. It's kind of unfortunate that some things are not going well. So, you know, using that term as an opportunity to figure out how to improve it. And I think the city's going to go after that. So that was certainly the neighborhood, south side of town. The parking issue or the citation thing, I live in Kendall Drive as well, neighbor. But it's not unique just to that area. I think it's really something we got to look at in terms of safety in a lot of other areas. My former neighborhood is one. If you get two cars parked on both sides of the street, the fire truck cannot get through. So we might have to explore some alternate side parking on day to day. But these are opportunities, and I just wanted to bring that up.
Other comments?
I hope a break is soon.
Oh, what?
Caesar.
Take your first time out.
Well, let's finish commissioner comments, then we'll entertain a 5-minute break. Okay. That was cute, Ms. Holland. Any other comments? Just a lot of neat things, a lot of positive things going on, and thanks to staff and thanks to everyone who's been involved in them. Certainly was an exciting day in the Michael Smith Park. It really was. I left before it got dark, so whatever happened after dark, I don't know, but it was a good day. Commissioner Cottle, Commissioner Peak, any comments?
I told him, I just said that, I don't know his name, John from Bayer that was out there.
John Cody?
They stood out there and said this is a community, like a test for communities to see how they come together, that our park was a test for them. And he said, he stood back and he said, with all the bad in the world that we have, this is a nice testament to say it's all going to be okay. When he saw, because there were so many people from everywhere there, and when you walked out, you saw kids coming from KSD and you saw kids coming from every part of town just to come down there to that park. So it was really nice to see. And I
agree. And to our park director and the park staff, wow. Parks and Rec, to see the director flipping hot dogs and hamburgers. They ran out before I got one, but I still don't hold it against them. But they went back and got more. So really great day. So compliments to the staff, Josh, and all the things that you guys do. And some of us attended Ashley's wedding. It was very nice, very well done. Commissioner Collins and I tried to talk Mr. Phillips out of it before the wedding started, but we failed. So, great wedding. And with that said, let's take 5, right? Ms. Holland got that out.
I think I want to say a few things. No.
They're messing with you, Ms. Holland.
She's going to make us slow.
That'll get everybody's attention, won't it? Okay, we did complete and conclude all of our commissioner comments, so let's go to the next item, payment of the bills. Is there a motion to pay our bills as presented?
Approve the bills as presented in the amount of $1,329,542.86.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second? Thank you, sir. Any corrections, additions, or deletions? Any questions? Nope. Notice they didn't pay the commissioners in the last cycle, right? So, hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, thank you all. The bills are paid. Resolution 2406-1001, 3C payment agreement. Oh, Ms. Compton,
She is out tonight.
she got married over the weekend too?
No, no.
Man.
You have in front of you Resolution 202406-1001. It authorizes the signature for the 3C payment agreement, which is your parking garage financial system to access the new bank account. Recall, we did some cybersecurity upgrade by altering the account at Farmers. This gives them the access, and there'll be more of these as those payments come through, as people try to interact with it and it fails, then that's kind of a fail-safe on our side. We wait till those come up and then we reauthorize them.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I move to accept resolution number 2024-06-1001.
Thank you, sir. A second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Hearing no further questions or comments, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, thank you. Next item is first reading of ordinance 2032, fiscal year 25 budget. Ms.
Thank you.
Compton has that one too, right?
Yes, I'll take that. Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 2032, I'll read it by title, an ordinance of the City of Danville, Kentucky, adopting the annual budget for the fiscal year 7/1/24 through 6/30/2025 by appropriating funds for the operation of city government. As shown in the ordinance, which reflects the conversation we had last week, the department detail is included in your packet. The total allocation and appropriation authorized by ordinance 2032 is $52,695,605.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the first reading of ordinance 2032.
Thank you, ma'am. A second? Second. Thank you, sir. Questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote. Acting city clerk?
Commissioner Peak,
Yes.
Mayor Adkins,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Saris,
Yes.
and Commissioner Cobb.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Next item is first reading of ordinance 2033.
Thank you again, Mayor. Recall during the budget process and discussing revenue, we looked at the cost to administer the alcohol license. It was, last year's expense was $1,395,000 against a revenue of $699,000. As revenue is generated by the alcohol fees, then as we looked in the fees last winter and through the spring, recall the recommendation was to levelize those fees. 5% average across the board is normal. As the progression of Danville's alcohol ordinance became active and changed over time, those fees were not uniform. So you had 5, 4, and 3 as the applicable percentage of gross sales based on where your distribution occurred. This ordinance sets those all at a uniform distribution of 5%. I'll read 2033 by title. An ordinance establishing the regulatory license fee for the sale of alcohol beverages in the city of Danville for the fiscal year 24-25.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2033.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Oh, roll call vote.
Mayor Atkins?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Holland?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Saris?
Yes.
Commissioner Cottle?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, next item.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Recall Lee discussed with you briefly the auditing firm, Sherry Baker Advisory, who is currently doing our audit, is under contract for our audit, recommended that we deploy a financial software to deal with our leases as recommended by the previous audit. The leases includes properties or vehicles or whatever those various arrangements are. The GASB changed, and it does have a significant financial reporting requirement. The DLG does, and so this auditing software will ultimately save us money on the cost to implement a next audit. And it comes at a price of $9,514 to lease the software. We believe we'll save that in auditing cost over time for sure. And so Resolution 2024-06-1002 authorizes the execution of that amendment to their contract.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll move to accept resolution number 2024-06-1002.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you all. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution 61002, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, resolution carries. Lee, we'll be proud of you for getting those done so efficiently. Wow. Okay, Mr. Carrier, you're up next.
Thank you, Mayor. First agenda item I have, back on May the 9th, 2024, the city of Danville received proposals in response to requests for qualifications pertaining to needed sanitary sewer improvements in both Perryville and Junction City. If you all recall, this harkens back to the discussion about the county ARPA funds, correct?
Yeah.
So, on May the 16th, 2024, the city, in partnership with Boyle County Fiscal Court, we evaluated 6 proposals, which was a good turnout. Proposals included various tasks such as funding support services, preliminary and final design, as well as bidding and construction services. And again, this is funded from the Boyle County ARPA allotment of $2.8 million. So we set that as a cap contractually. So your design fees and construction oversight and contract administration comes out of that total, and whatever you have left over is what you need to shoot for your construction activities, your total cost of construction. This is to address pump stations around in Junction and Perryville, including Leonard Field Pump Station, the Perryville City Hall, 3rd Street in Perryville Pump Station, Noblick in Junction City Pump Station, York Lane in Junction City, the pump station, as well as the Perryville Wastewater Treatment Plant. On the 15th, like I said earlier, we met with members of our city staff, as well as a representative from the fiscal court. We evaluated and scored representatives from all 6 firms and ranked the top 2, and began negotiations thereafter with the top 2 firms to determine a detailed scope of work and a fee schedule. The 2 top firms were HDR Engineering, Inc. They provided a fee of $349,500, and Bell Engineering provided a fee of $317,500. Recommendation is to give the award to Bell Engineering.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-06-1003.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Really interested and excited that we're using county funds to improve areas in the county, but letting the city direct the contract and direct the work.
And we've been keeping them in the loop, the fiscal court in the loop, and we will continuously. So if we have project updates, and we'll certainly invite a representative from the fiscal court to be there with us for those updates.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
All those in favor? Say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 61004, Mr. Carrier.
Thank you, Mayor. If you all recall, in December of 2023, the city approved a resolution to pursue the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority Danville Lead and Copper Replacements Project as a loan. This $2,320,394 loan, of which $1,333,983 falls under principal forgiveness. So there will not be debt associated with that value out of the 2.3.
Wow.
Will provide valuable funding to aid the city in facilitating the replacement of lead service lines throughout its water distribution system in accordance with federal regulations for the lead and copper replacement program. Part of this is the need for local funds to be facilitated into the funding discussion for a total of $929,606. Staff recommends the approval of $929,606 of local funds. And then if we approve this, then this will go before the KIA board. I believe the next meeting is July the 11th, I think, I want to say, for their review. And if they approve it, then we will move forward with the actual agreement documentation and bring back.
Thank you, sir.
Where's this come from, the 900 and whatever?
I brought this to Lee a couple days ago, and it's my understanding it's come from future capital funds.
Okay.
Yep. So the total project is $3.25 million. So just to kind of break it down, if you take the local funds, $926,606 out of that, that leaves the value that's left for the loan, the $2.320394. That is the KIA loan, of which $1.33 million is forgivable.
That's good. Do we have a motion?
No. Do we not?
We need a motion?
We do.
We need a motion? Someone in the orange make a motion, please?
I'll move to accept resolution number 2024-06-1004.
Second.
Thank you all. Any questions or comments?
Shows we're working with our county and other cities in the county, doesn't it?
And thank you.
Yep. Thank you all.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, resolution carries. Josh Morgan, you survived, sir, didn't you? Yeah. And I forgot to thank Marshall, too, about Saturday's event, right? Had some water running down there.
Yeah. A lot of water used Saturday. I think it rained nonstop for 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, buddy. All good, though.
Yeah, we estimated about 500 people.
Wow.
500 people came through that day. I mean, I know we gave away at least 180 hot dogs and 180 hamburgers. So
I didn't get
a lot of folks came through.
All right, that's good. Okay, let's go.
Yep.
61005.
Yes, so in the conversations we've had lately with you all and with the county and then also with the Danville Picklers, we're trying to develop at least a plan of where we're going to go with the a new pickleball facility. So we thought now was a good time to ask our consultant to give us a scope and fee to do feasibility study because we've talked about multiple locations that it could possibly go, and we really want to have a good idea of our cost at the different locations before we commit to anything. So in your packets, the scope and fee that they provided is $27,750. This will analyze the Bunny Davis location, Fairgrounds location. We even talked a little bit about what we need to do to get Jackson Park up to a more finished state. So yeah, this will get us and we'll have cost estimates included with that. So once we are able to get with the county and make a funding commitment to construction, we'll have a better idea of the location that's going to go and what that funding amount is. Because just in conversations with our consultant about the kind of the plan the Picklers gave us and what we looked at Bunny Davis, I think it's developing into a bit more of a costly project than what we initially talked about. I think we were looking initially in the $500,000 range to add some courts at Bunny Davis, but this is quickly going up into the $2 million range. If we keep going down the road we are, so we really want to dial this in before we make any big commitments because we know we need to be a little more strategic about our spending going forward.
what Josh and I talked a lot about too today, we were going through the process of reacting to the Pickler's request and trying to accommodate that. Josh and I and Tommy and staff proposed something to them. Then they provided I think some of you guys were sent what information they wanted to provide sometime back. In reaction to that, we felt like that they wanted something in scope, and we believed we could provide or meet the expectation at the Bunny Davis Center. So part of this is to evaluate the Bunny Davis Center to demonstrate that there would be room for this or not. At the same time, if it went somewhere else, what else it would look like. But I will say this. I receive emails from Lynn Imaging, and whenever projects are advertised, I get every advertisement that goes through Lynn, which is where we market our projects also. And there has been it seems like in our region, there are folks that have chosen to build some of these facilities with ARPA money, probably, judging by how the advertisements are read. For example, Versailles has none. They have one project bids here in a couple weeks that adds a complex at their Falling Springs location. And so certainly we don't want to be, and I appreciate Josh bringing this out. And he knows what I'm saying. He knew this is turning into my opinion. We certainly, and Josh has the same feeling, we don't want to overinvest in it if the market is going to be flooded with pickleball facilities. And so we don't want to be the entity with a $1.5 million project when all of a sudden 8 other communities around us have the same facilities. Then that kind of starts to, we don't know about the utilization. We already have a nice sixplex. What if that's redeveloped and expanded with better bleachers and better lighting and better court surface? And maybe we add 4 more there that accommodates us long term. So what we presented this so we would understand. Josh thought this as we discussed, so we would understand what that cost to really get to that dialed-in number is. If you all want to pass on this until we meet with that joint workshop to find out what the county's interest in pickleball is, we can't advise not to do that. We believe that might be the best approach at this point to really see what the city and county agree to on in terms of investment on pickleball. That may be the best option, but we wanted to get this in front of you. This is for a feasibility study to determine the size, the location, and what are 1 or 2 good options for pickleball. Doesn't say this is going to be the pickleball project we're going to do, and it certainly doesn't jump pickleball to the front of the line in front of the other issues we're trying to solve. But the other issues, when we're talking about a pool, we understand what our load is. We've never done that type of feasibility study for pickleball. That hasn't happened. And we understand what dimensions an indoor rec center would be because we have more data that backs that up. Pickleball is new for our community. We've never gone through that exercise. Part of this, the space design, the layout at the parks, or also then how many courts do we technically need based on usage data? Those things need to be fleshed out also. But again, if y'all want to proceed with that feasibility study in front of that, we won't have it done by that joint meeting, by no means. But if you want to go ahead and get started on that aspect of it, this is how you do that. If you want to wait to that next joint meeting, we talk about it with the county and then authorize us to do something and take action then, that's totally fine too. I asked Josh to get the information out there in front of us, and we'll figure out what to do. It's your all's decision, and so certainly we're not going to, I don't want to be perceived as trying to steer that towards something. I don't want pickleball to jump the line in front of other folks who have also, collected fees and paid things over the years too. That's not the only sport that's tried to do that. The Bull Youth Soccer Association does a wonderful job with making sure the parks are utilized, the soccer fields, there is, so all I'm saying is that this is the first step when we're dealing with pickleball. If y'all want to start now, this is how we do it. If you want to wait till we know more with the county, we'll do that. We'll do what you say.
Would the scope of this be looking at indoor as well as outdoor?
Yes,
pickleball?
it will look at, we've talked about doing a, more of a, I don't know what you call it, like a Four Seasons kind of thing, where it would be covered, part of it would be covered, and we could drop sides and put radiant heating in, and so it wouldn't be like a fully conditioned space, but it would be able to be warmed in the winter. So that's definitely part of this as well, and part of the cost estimating that they'll do would be what's the impact of that to us.
Several different locations in our community would be in this?
Well, primarily, we would be looking at Bunny Davis, the fairgrounds, and maybe Jackson Park, with just renovating the courts that are there. But that would pretty much be the extent of it. And the Picklers have kind of steered us that direction. That's right. You know, and I thought a lot about this weekend with Michael Smith. You know, we had a lot of success there. You know, we did an initial design. It was too expensive. You all came back and said, $1 million budget. Let's set a budget. And that set us down a path to reach what's down there now. And I think that was pretty successful. A lot of our other projects, we've gone about it the other way. We've decided what we wanted, and then we just figured out how much it was going to cost. And I think with this project, you know, this takes us down the road of let's figure out what we want, and then this is what it's going to cost. But if you all in the county want to get together, or however we want to do this, and say, hey, here's our budget. We want to do $1 million budget. We want to do a $500,000, but whatever that is, then we can then design to that. So I think there's a couple of ways of going about this, but this really gets us ahead of things, because I think what I fear a little bit, just frankly, is that if we just push forward with Bunny Davis without doing a study like this, we might get some criticism in the community for not exploring all of the options. This is kind of the one fear that I have. Earl, is that reasonable to say?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one thing for me to go out there and look at it, or Josh or Marshall or some other engineer, say, yeah, this will fit, but does it work? And so without any analysis of that, that's what this kind of, so again, if you want to wait till the joint meeting, we can. If you want us to get started now.
I don't necessarily want to wait, because another question was, this is going to also talk about parking.
Yes, parking and restrooms, plumbing, and so we got to figure out how to get sewage to any location we put this in, so we can have a restroom, or at least a potential for a restroom in the future. So that's going to be a big part of this analysis as well.
I'd be okay with going ahead with this, because when we do have these meetings that we keep getting requests for, the more knowledge we have, the better chance we might have of getting some folks to say, hey, we'll buy into this thing. If we don't have several options and some quote-unquote almost finite proposals, we're probably not going to get anywhere with folks. And you're also researching a place to put this in.
Okay, we could put pickleball courts everywhere, but they've.
I guess I'll speak up for me personally. There's so many things that are needed. And I don't think any of us have set on, or maybe we have, what we're gonna do next in the parks. So for me, I would like to see it put before our parks meeting and decide, because I don't understand how, the pickleball is great. I live out there, it's full all the time. And nothing against pickleball. It's just there's indoor things that are needed for other events as well, whether it's basketball or practice or, there's a lot of need, and we haven't, we're really sort of sitting still, and then we're adding something to it. And right after we've decided we've got to cut, 20,000 here and 40,000 there for the budget for different departments, and that's just my opinion, Yeah, and I would like to see, if the county is interested in doing anything, and what are the sites? Because this just says Millennium and Bunny Davis, I think, right?
If you go to the meeting that you're talking about, Donna, and the county says, well, we believe in swimming, we believe in indoor rec, and we believe in mountain bike park, and we believe in, something in Perryville and something in Junction City, and that's it.
Right.
And they don't want to invest any more money in pickleball. It'd be nice to know that before we get too carried away.
Right.
With the design. I do agree with that concept.
Right. I think we just have to, like at the meeting the other day, we said we need to have a meeting and say, what are you in? Are you in or out? Is there anything you want to be in on? That's just my opinion.
It's very easy, and I say this not to diminish it, but it's much easier to look at your loading on an indoor building and understand how many courts you need, to look at your loading in a pool and understand how many square feet of deck you need, little things like that. There's rules of thumb for that. Pickleball is so new, no one really, and I do think that there's a credibility in going through a feasibility study. So it's important, I think, to aid in the guidance of that design. So if the county is not wanting to help, then the conversation with you guys are, what are we studying? Do we need to just improve our 6 courts,
Right.
or are we going to put another bunch of money in
Right.
pickleball as just the city? I think that conversation probably should happen in that order.
Because they are using Jenny Rogers as well, right?
Yes.
So they're using Jenny Rogers, they're using, the courts out there. It's great. It's great.
I think I've kind of talked myself a little bit out of it too. I do think it's worthwhile if we know at least a scale of our budget. I think, because this project could land anywhere from $500,000 to $3 million. I mean, if we really wanted to cover it, put restrooms in and a big parking lot, I mean, it could quickly get. I mean, look, our tennis courts are 2.7, and that's not that dissimilar of a project if we do 12 courts somewhere by itself. So I think if we know the scale of our budget, that guides our feasibility study in a major way too. I mean, that eliminates some things pretty quickly. If we're like, hey, we can't spend over this X amount of money, that really takes a few options off the table before we even start studying them. I mean, I think that's.
But actually, my thing is the study will sort of give me more advice on how to make a decision about go A, B, C. Otherwise, I'm just, they can't use that scenario. But anyway, it just gives me more information. Because if I say, okay, I'm opposed to pickleball at Millennium Park, well, I can't say that because I don't know what it might cost us. Or I support pickleball at Monday Davis. I don't know what it might cost us there either. So me, if I've got your numbers in front of me, not that I'm gonna put pickleball in front of anything or behind anything, we have some estimated costs about everything else on our list now, except for that probably. But we could decide not to do anything at all with pickleball. But if we're gonna look at it, we need to have some numbers in front of us, I think. Like I'm trying to build a house, I want to have some numbers in front of me.
Yeah, I'd like to find out too. It's easier to make decisions. And so you kind of want to go ahead with this, but I also feel like the county should have buy-in even on the front end. And so we may want to wait for that meeting. It just delays us. That's the unfortunate part.
Well, the meeting needs prompts, so how prompt can the meeting happen? And if it just needs to be prompt, 2 weeks, that kind of thing. If it works.
Especially if you all want to wait on this for that, we will get that meeting set up as quick as we can. It's been tough with the budget for finishing that up to get everybody.
The problem is
set up.
everybody's on vacation in the next, we just are. I mean, you can see
We were kind of
in line.
We were going to see. I was going to push them pretty hard to get this study done. We were going to try to have the study done before the joint meeting, especially if it was going to take a month or two before we had the joint meeting. But if we want to wait on this for the meeting, we'll try to schedule it as soon as we possibly can, and get something. Because for us as staff, there's really 2 big questions that need answered right now. One of them is pickleball, but the other is the pool is the bigger question for us that needs answered quickly, because we are experiencing a higher rate of leakage this year than we've ever, since the 3.5 years I've been here. So we need to do something with the pool, and decisions made pretty quickly. So that's a big priority for us. But this is kind of, as far as decision making goes, we've got a laundry list of projects we'd like to do, but the pickleball is the one that's still kind of up in the air that we're not certain of.
So the will of the commission is to table this for a later date?
I think so, and I also have another question. When we have our joint meeting, won't Becker kind of address this even without numbers? What are they going to address?
Yeah, we can have some kind of high level discussions about the locations and how it impacts kind of some of our other projects and those kind of things. But that part of this scope and fee was getting Turner Construction involved to give us good, solid estimates of what the projects would cost, which they've really helped us in the past, because with these inflation in situations we've been in, it's been hard for us to estimate costs. So yeah, we can look at it from really high level at that point and really the big discussion that needs to be had at that point is the scheduling of it. Like I said, if it's if we're going to do pickleball at Bunny Davis, then we need to do the pool first, and that kind of puts pickleball off a couple of years, at least a year. So there's some big picture conversations that need to be had as well.
Let's agree to table this and let's move on to almost the end of our agenda. The next item, Josh, is yours. Streetscape design fee reallocation.
Yes, thank you. So the Gresham Smith had about $20,000 remaining on their construction administration fee from the streetscape project. We were asking to reallocate that $20,000 to help assist us with design work on Walnut Street, and also I think they're going to commit a few hours to helping us finish up the Memorial Plaza here next door. We feel like it looks really good, but there's a couple elements we'd like them to help us finish up. So we were asking for that $20,000 to be reallocated to those two projects. So we're not adding any encumbrance to the existing contract. We're just reallocating it.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move to accept resolution number 2024-06-1006.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions? When you say Walnut and Second Street, you talking about the streetscape down Second Street towards Walnut?
Well, just the intersection of Second and Walnut where we took the signal out and put the four-way stop in. We want to make those stop sign locations permanent and do some bump outs and improve those ramps and just make that all feel a little bit safer. So they're going to assist us with a little bit of that work. We've done some in-house. We've done some shot elevations and those kind of things and kind of sketched it out, but just kind of giving a final stamp to it with so to have expertise in that kind of design work. So,
Any other questions on this issue? If not, call for the question. All those in favor of 61006?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, say aye, I'm sorry. Those opposed? The motion carries. Next item, City Commissioner Coffey.
Mayor, I'm going to take this one, if that's okay.
Oh, okay, all right.
If you'll remember that the county has had multiple discussions about hiring an emergency medical director, and is that the correct term? Emergency medical director, and that will work under the emergency management agency at the county that will assist with all medical protocol of first responders, emergency medical dispatch, and things of that nature, but to train, supervise, and give direction on transport and a host of other medical types of issues for 911, the fire department, police department, sheriff's office, and EMS. And so out of the sake of cooperation and efficiency of services and not having the duplication of them, the county has hired that position. To my understanding, has that officially been hired? Earl? Okay. And that is Dr. Grant. And in order to share in that cost, the county had maybe proposed a larger agreement that would cover a host of medical, not only medical director issues, but also things like mutual aid agreements, emergency management sirens, and things of that nature. However, in order to simplify the issue going forward, I felt that it was more prudent to just deal with these issues individually and treat them just like we do with like the solid waste director. The city says we want to apply have funds appropriated for half of the solid waste coordinator's salary and things of that nature, and also the emergency management director and things of that nature. So in order just to pair it with those types of agreements, the resolution that is before you acknowledges the city's first responders, the county's first responders, the hiring that has taken place at the county for this emergency medical director, and then says we have a desire to cooperate and share in the cost of that medical director to benefit by having one countywide position, including the city. And The resolution would authorize the remittance of a payment to the fiscal court in the amount of $24,564 to go for half of that medical director's cost for the next fiscal year. So this isn't a joint participation agreement. It's just an acknowledgement for this next year that service will be split, will contribute half of the position as the city will receive a benefit of it.
I would add that we do have a lot of verbal things that we've done over the years with the county, and we still would like to have text with several of those things. And so this resolves this question for the county in terms of the emergency medical director. We know we want that, and then we'll just continue to build through the other issues one at a time, like at Stephen's recommendation.
This will be an employee shared by the city and county.
This will not be an employee shared by the city and county. I don't know what the relationship is under which the county hired the individual, Dr. Grant. I don't know if he's a professional services consultant, if he is an independent contractor, or if he is actually an employee of the county. I do not know, which is one of the reasons that I prefer this arrangement, because I want it to be clear whatever relationship exists is their baby, and we are simply supplementing a portion of whatever amount that he is paid.
Okay. Well, I asked that question because the waste treatment agreement that we have, Donna Feckler was in that position for a long time. There was never an issue about city's needs being taken care of. There's been some discussion, some confusion about how we address that, and so as we work through this, we probably need to address both of those to get those things ironed out, because we were just talking about how great staff worked to get rid of storm damage, but there was even some issues of storm damage being taken to facilities, and so this sort of, I understand what you're doing this time, but it gives you a year to work on getting it ironed out to where it's best for both parties.
We need, and we have worked through at least the last 15 years that I've been a part of this, to actually document and memorialize what have been kind of handshake agreements with the county. And there have frankly just been a lot of them out of convenience. But as we have grown and things become more complicated, and there's also a turnover in leadership, obviously, in this arena, those things can become rather muddied. And so it's important that we document them in some fashion that will outlast us.
And we have to have a medical director. So we have to have that regardless if it comes from the county or, but it is my belief that the community is served better by having one, regardless of which agency that houses that medical director, having the same concept at the counties with EMS and fire department when they're on a scene, having one medical director philosophy there, I think ultimately provides a better service for the citizen. And I think in that it's a countywide position, I think it's better housed at the county. And so this enables them to do that and us piggyback on that for our compliance.
And Junction and Perv will be involved in the countywide?
I can't speak to what they're doing, but I would assume the countywide position covers them.
Yeah. All right.
Right. We do medical dispatch and we have dispatch. So there's elements there that we need that advisor.
Sure.
So our police, fire, and dispatch are good with this?
Yes,
obviously?
we've met with.
And they won't direct our staff? He wouldn't direct our
He
staff?
directs us on training, advises us on training and our certification.
Okay.
I think, is that the right word?
Yes, he'd be more of an advisor for us, like in protocols and things like that, that kind of more really assist EMS. And so it would be more of an assistant or an advisor.
Which is why it makes sense in this case. What we've always tried to approach these issues in which we have cooperative services is where does it make the most sense for that position to lie? For instance, Parks and Recreation, it's in the city's wheelhouse, the extension of those types of services. The county acknowledged that, and which is why the city takes lead and the county supplements. Solid waste is something that the county has excelled in, frankly, and something that we can participate in because they do it well. And this is one of those instances that falls truly under the county's umbrella and our perspective to be most streamlined. So what we're saying here, as we're wading through a host of these types of issues, these positions need to just fall just wherever it makes the most common sense. And this is the one, in this instance, it makes most sense for it to be a county position. When other times we advocate that it makes more sense for the city to take lead on it. But this is one where the county should, and is most efficient to take lead.
Okay, good. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-06-1007.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, likewise, motion carries. Chair entertain a motion to adjourn.
We do need an executive session for property acquisition personnel, and I think litigation.
Y'all can make a motion.
Oh, man.
No, I don't. No, just personnel and property acquisition.
Mel, be sure you tell Ashley I tried.
Personnel and property, I'll do it.
All right.
Personnel and property. I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to KRS 61.8101F, and to go into executive session for potential real property acquisition for which publicity at present stage might or would be likely to affect the value per KRS 61.8101B.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say aye.
Well done.
Staff, you have some recommendations for us?
I have a recommendation. Recommend the hiring of Jacob Graves to the position of maintenance worker within Parks and Rec.
So moved.
Second?
Wow, thank you all. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, is there another motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you both. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.